Welcome. This is Holly with Teaching Tuesdays, August the 10th, and we are delving deep into berries again, and this is Blackberry Blessings. I have had so much fun, and Jason has certainly enjoyed eating all of the blackberry treasures that we've made this week for desserts and for savory treats. So I wanted to just share some of them with you and go a little bit deeper into blackberry and also remind you of all the other berries that are out there free for the knowing and the picking. So I've just been so blessed. And the things that God has taught me while I've been in nature, persistently harvesting, has been so rich and so meaningful. So I'm hoping that you guys are still doing your hiking habit and your sit spot, and you're enjoying gathering your harvest all around you. So first I want to welcome all the new members. I am so honored that you would join me. It is just fantastic to have this community of kindred spirits. I hope you enjoy this. The more you participate, the more you'll get out of it. When you learn something, then just do it. And that way it'll become a part of you, and you'll have your own stories to share and your own poems to write and your own experiences with God in nature. So, welcome. Also, please comment. Let me know where you're watching from. I'm so excited to know that one of you is in England, for heaven's sakes. I think it's Jamie. Is that how you pronounce your name, or James? Anyway, I'm really happy to have you. And share this with friends if this is a blessing to you, a wild blessing. We can spread wildfires in the best possible way. Also, if you have shared, if you have questions or comments, or if you have, let's see, were there other things I wanted to ask you, where you're from, and if you've been eating blackberries or harvesting blackberries, I would like to know that in the comments. If you've done a recipe, I really want to see that on our Wild Blessings page underneath the thread that I started on that. And I wanted to thank Maggie Russell for sharing her unusual recipe. I haven't tried it yet, but I'm going to go ahead and read it to you because it's kind of unusual and it sounds pretty interesting. So she said, take 1 head of romaine lettuce, quarter it, and then drizzle it with avocado oil and Parmesan cheese and sear it on the grill. Serve it with fresh blackberries and sliced peach. Prepare to be wowed. She said it's a recipe from Scott Hamilton. So thank you for sharing that. And I haven't tried it yet, but if any of you do, post it in the comments below. Let's see, what else did I want to know about you guys? Yeah, I want to know if you've written a blackberry poem. I honestly think that this particular plant deserves a poem, don't you? Okay, so let's get started with...
could I ask you, I do see a comment from Sharon Bass, who's a
Hi,
new
Sharon.
member. So she joined us recently.
Nice.
And Jamie, yes, Jamie is the one who's over in England.
Oh, welcome, Jamie. Okay, all right, so for our... Oh, I wanted to remind you, okay, I haven't picked my Poison Ivy poem winner yet, but I did want to share one of the poems. Vicki, you blow my mind. I hope I don't mess it up. I really want you all to write a Poison Ivy poem. If you haven't watched that episode, Poison Ivy tends to be where blackberries tend to be, and you know what? You don't want to get poison ivy while you're harvesting blackberries. And so you want to learn all that you can learn about that. And so I did, Jace helped me. We did a really good class on poison ivy 2 weeks ago. Watch that if you haven't watched it yet. And write a poem about poison ivy, because for sure that needs more than a meme. However, Vicki did a great job, and hers is 3 leaves. Oh, I don't want to mess it up. Okay, hold on. It's really short. Oh, I'll just try to say it. 3 leaves that are shiny, don't wipe your hiney.
I'm surprised you wanted to read that one.
I love it. I mean, leaves that are 3, let them be. And, you know, side mittens will itch like the dickens. And there's a whole bunch of memes. And now we're going to add to that. I'm pretty sure it'll become famous. All right, the winner of the Poison Ivy poem will get a free Forge to Feast with me this fall, which is up to a $65 gift. So it'll be a Greek feast. And my husband is Greek, and so I'm a really good Greek cook, and we'll make it wild and wonderful. So Poison Ivy poems, please send them my way. And blackberry plums, for sure. Okay, so I wanted to start off with a drink because we always have our wild tea, but this one is a wild smoothie. Every day Jason and I drink a protein shake, and I make it chocolate because we love chocolate. And then I put in it berries and for the antioxidants. And because I have so many wonderful berries, I used blackberries this time. So why don't you try that?
So this is our usual shake, but just you've mixed blackberries in it.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then I put a few in there just for fun. And I love blackberries because they have kind of a tart, wonderful flavor. And so, isn't that good?
I got all three of them right there. But yes,
Okay, well, anyway, that's your lunch.
toast to all of you.
Toast to all of you. Okay. All right. This morning when I was of foraging, I always take a poplar leaf, and I showed you how to do this, or Bethany showed you last week, she was such a wonderful guest. It was so much fun having her. Just a reminder, or for those of you who didn't see it, you just take the bottom of the leaf, bring it up, fold in the sides of the little dress or whatever it is, and then taking the pointy part, poke it in and weave it back up. So this is just kind of fun. So as you're looking for berries, and if you don't have or say you find them and you don't have a basket, you could just use a poplar leaf. And so every day I make a poplar leaf as soon as I go outside with Max. We got up for the sunrise this morning. It never showed through the clouds, but I know it was there behind the clouds. Anyway, it makes it more cool for harvesting. And then I just thank God in advance that He's going to fill my basket. And so I think that's a really good thing to do as foragers, because we look to you to give us our food in due season. You give to us, we gather it up. You open your hands and we are satisfied. You send forth your spirit and we are created, and you renew the face of the ground. And so even if your basket is empty, start with a gratitude attitude, an attitude of gratitude, where you just say, Lord, thank you that you're going to fill my basket. And He always does. Now, it was overflowing, but I ate everything else. I ate a bunch of them. My favorite way to eat blackberries is just raw, because they're so good for you. We talked about all of the nutrients and all the minerals and all of the antioxidants and all the flavonoids that are in this amazing berry last week. So if you didn't see that, please watch it. All right, I'm going to start by telling you a story, or reading you a story from this amazing book, Shauna Leah's Quest by Thomas Elfell. And he's written a book that I recommend you all get called Botany in a Day. Next year, if y'all stick with me, we'll be doing botany lessons along with, maybe once or twice a month or something. And so we'll really get into this book. And he's just brilliant. His book is called Botany in a Day, and this is a child's book. But I love children's book because I'm just a wild child.
Would you hold up that cover again so we can all see
Absolutely.
The cover? Just hold it toward the camera. Thank you.
Okay, here we go. So Shauna Leah has been sent out by her grandfather to learn about all the different types of plant families. And so she takes her canoe, and they're all on islands. And so let me see if I can find the islands. Maybe it's at the back of the book. Would have been smart if I had figured this out beforehand. The artwork in here is just fabulous. Yeah, all right, never mind. All right, let me read to you about the rose family. So blackberries, all berries are in the rose family. And I was wrong. Last week I said that they have 5 petals and 5 stamens. No, they have lots of stamens. They have 5 sepals is what I meant to say. And those are the little green coverings that closed the bud in at the beginning. And they open up, and then you can see the petals. So here we go. Shauna Leah followed the sweet smell of roses right to its source. The Rose Islands were a cluster of medium-sized islands and home to more than 3,000 species of plants with rose-like flowers. Hello, Shauna Leah hollered to the guardian as she approached. Would you teach me about the plants of the Rose Islands? Gladly, the guardian said as he gave her a beautiful rose. Step right up to my flower recombobulator and take a look. Shauna Leah followed him to a giant mechanical rose. See how there are 5 sepals and 5 petals, plus lots of stamens and pistils in the middle. That is the combination for the true rose. Now press this magic growth button. Shaunalia did as he said, and the blossoms on the island suddenly changed, maturing into fruits right before her eyes. They were surrounded by rose hips, strawberries, blackberries, raspberries. You know, all these fruits, all these berries would just get mashed in my collecting bag, said Shaunalia, eating as many as she could without saving any of them. When Shaunalia was finally full, the guardian asked, "Are you ready for a new combination?" They removed most of the stamens and all but one pistil until the flower recombobulator looked like a plum blossom. Suddenly they appeared on Plum Island. Shaunalia eagerly pressed the magic button and watched as apricots and cherries, nectarines, peaches, and plums ripened from flowers into fruits. "A fruit is like a pregnant woman," the guardian said. "After being fertilized with pollen from the male stamens, the baby grows inside the womb of the pistil. It is truly a baby plant with the beginnings of a root and leaves, but we call them seeds." "Now here is one very pregnant-looking peach," Shaunalia observed as she filled her bag. "Hey, all of these fruits have a seam down one side and a hard pit in the middle." "Well, that's a good pattern for the fruits of Plum Island," said the guardian. "But did you also notice how all these fruits form on top of the flower instead of underneath?" He pushed the pistil down in the recombobulator until it was beneath the petals and the sepals, and then put them back some of the stamens, instantly transporting them to Apple Island. Shaunalia pushed the growth button and the flowers quickly matured into apples and pears and all kinds of berries. Only this time the fruit swelled up beneath the flowers. On the end of each fruit was a little 5-pointed star made from what used to be the sepals around the blossom. "If the pistil is attached below the sepals and the petals," the guardian said, "then the fruit forms below the flower too." Shaunalia's bag grew heavy with the delicious fruit. Finally, they reset the flower recombobulator for Rose Island and returned to Shaunalia's canoe. "Thank you for your kindness. I will think of you as I savor these fruits at home," the girl promised as she left. So there was just so much truth in that. It was just a fascinating story. But, you know, it's just a wonderful way to teach kids and big kids about the different types of plant families. And so there's the 5 sepals, the little green sepals that held together the bud. And then as it opened out came the 5 petals and numerous stamens and pistils in the middle. So there's the fruit below. If the sepals were on top, and if the sepals are below and the fruit is above, that would be the plum family. So I think that's fascinating. And I was just really kind of intrigued by the idea of a recombobulator, because we don't have one of those, but we do have the promise of the harvest is coming, because the berries are ripening all around. And it strikes me that the anticipation that we have as we watch the flowers and the petals fall off, and then the pregnant little ovary getting larger and larger until it becomes a green berry, and then a red berry, and then a blackberry. Even once they do, they don't all ripen at once, which is a good thing. So find your blackberry patches and then go back to them each day, because only 1 or 2 on a bramble will be ripe each day. So the ones that I picked today were red yesterday. So it's just a matter of making sure you're persistent, because persistence always pays. So I wanted just to talk about just a thought, a meditation about what are you waiting for in your life? Because we're all waiting for something, and it's sometimes we're in a very difficult situation while we're waiting. Sometimes when when you're physically pregnant, you're waiting for 9 months, but you know at the end of those 9 months you will have a baby and it'll be worth the wait. Sometimes you're waiting without any end in sight, but you're waiting not alone. You're waiting with God. He waits with you. Jesus went through all the trials we've ever been through so he can identify with us and wait with us and give us hope and courage and knowing that he's good. So when you know nature cycles like I do and like many of you do, you can wait with confidence and with expectation, and you can endure all kinds of things because you know it's coming in the perfect time. So God's timing is perfect. Let's see, I had some other thoughts about that. Let me see. Oh, while you're waiting. So the other thought, and who was it? One of you guys in the comments this week was commenting about looking for other things while you're looking for blackberries. So every day, just ask God to open your eyes to see the gifts that he has hidden all around in plain view. So when you're looking for blackberries, sometimes you'll see other things that are out that you didn't notice before. Like I just saw today my first lobelia beginning to bloom, and it's like, oh my gosh, it's August. Lobelias are here. And those are exactly what was the hidden plant that was in, those are what's in our garden. And there's hundreds of them. So there's such a gift of them in my yard for some weird reason. I'm going to really get into understanding. I'll probably teach a class on it because I've got literally hundreds of them, and they're so beautiful. I know that they're an ipecac, so they can be used for forcing vomiting. I also know that they're good for respiratory uses. So maybe that's what it is. I don't know, but they're beautiful. So I was excited. So I saw them as I was harvesting. The other thing is, always stay persistent, don't give up, because if you look from different angles and think about that in your own life, you know, don't just get so tunnel vision that you're only looking at this one berry that you're waiting to ripe. Just look around from different angles and get a new perspective, and you'll see that there's always something for your nourishment, spiritually and physically. Okay, so this is what I wanted to say. So while you're waiting, explore truth reflected in God's creation. Thankfulness will fill your heart and will replace discouragement. Ask God to show you. Like today I was disappointed. I got up for the sunrise and it rose, but I didn't get to see it because it was a really thick cloud layer. But the truth I learned from that is the sun is there behind the clouds. So it doesn't always have to be shining for us to believe in it. Seeing isn't always believing. Knowing is deeper. So I just wanted to share those meditative thoughts I had this morning. It was so encouraging to me because I'm waiting for some really big things in my own life. I've waited for years, and you know what? God's faithful, right? He's faithful. So here's proof of his faithfulness, and let's see, what did I want to talk about next? I wanted to go over our verses. So, Chase, I'm going to go over here just really quick. Is that okay?
Sure.
Or I could just bring these over if you would like. So our verse for today, or for blackberry, or for berries, is be patient like a farmer who waits for the land to yield its valuable crop, patiently waiting for rain. So I put on here, and I recommend that you print these out on poster board, or on cardstock. And so what I did is I put, do you recognize the rose leaves? That's a rose leaf. This is a hawthorn leaf. And here's a little tiny blackberry leaf. There's the 5 little prickly leaves. This here, do you guys recognize this? This is elderberry. This is an elder leaf. And there's a tinier elderberry leaf. And then over here is a larger blackberry leaf. And then here I've got red raspberry. Or actually, this is a black raspberry. And see, it's got the 3 leaflets. And on the back is a silvery look. So I think that's really meaningful. So just this review, I would love to have this larger and just do all the different berries, which we're going to go over, I don't know, about 20 of them that are coming up. Because everything we're going to talk about today with blackberry, you can use these same recipes, these same ideas, these same principles with any of these wild berries or cultivated berries that are free for just knowing about and keeping your eyes wide open for. So let's look at the earth is full of the goodness of the Lord. I remember the time Jenny did this one for us. This was just beautiful. I can't remember what the class was that day, but she did a great job putting flowers on there. But this is the one from our poison plant classes that we did together. Oh yeah, this one was on edible flowers. This one was on poisonous flowers and poisonous plants. Be careful then how you walk, not as unwise men, but as wise. And so this is pretty creepy, but this here is poison hemlock. And this is the most poisonous plant in North America. This is water hemlock. There's that leaf. And this is lily of the valley, which can cause all kinds of disaster to your body, including death. Let's see, what is that? You know what? That's just a tiny, I don't remember what that is. I think that's probably the same thing, only a smaller one, because it was cute. And then this is poison ivy. So I actually harvested that in the dark with a flashlight because I wanted to have this done last week. So anyway, there it is. So, and then the earth is full of the goodness of the Lord. So I hope you feel blessed today as we just delve into, yes, sir.
So I wanted to remind everyone, after studying poison ivy as much as we did, and I pulled into a parking lot, there was a tree in front of my truck, and I looked and saw a vine. It's winding its way up the trunk of the tree. And sure enough, not only did it have the 3 leaves, but I could identify the lateral leaves and the terminal leaf, and I could identify how those lateral leaves had asymmetrical shapes around the midrib. That was a very great way to feel comfortable, or at least confident, knowing which plant that was.
Was the vine hairy?
I didn't go close enough.
Okay, hairy rope, don't be a dope. And 3 leaves that are shiny, don't wipe your hiney. Okay, I think that's going to go down in the annals of history. All right, so let's go ahead and get into some of this stuff. So the first thing you want to do when you gather your berries, the first thing you want to do is gather them and collect recipes. And so I'm putting up a lot of recipes on Patreon. I've been working on it all week. I've been cooking them up and sharing some with you guys as well. So collect your recipes, forage, get your equipment. And so for equipment, you're going to need funnel. I'll take a picture of all those things that you need, but there's not a whole lot that you need. You do need mason jars. Sterilize them, and the way I do that is I just wash them. My dishwasher, I don't like a dishwasher. I don't use it, but I wash them and then I put them in the oven at 200 and just sterilize them that way. So have them all ready to go. Have your jar lids boiling. You know, just everything that the recipes tell you to do. Make sure you have it ready to go. So I keep thinking I really worked hard this week, didn't I, Jason? On this class, and I kept thinking, man, I wish my kids were still little and I could put them to work because there'd be a lot to do. So those of you with children, there's so many meaningful, significant things you can do together, and then it ends up with an amazing dessert that you all worked on together, you foraged for, you cooked, you created and imagined together, and then enjoyed together. So then collecting all the ingredients, just having everything ready to go. And then having your space, so like right now all my space is not usable, but I had everything ready to go when I was working. And then having them labeled. So I would literally label this jar that had been cleaned, balsamic blackberry vinegar. I would have that labeled before I had it actually created and put in here. Or I labeled this one here, blackberry powder, before I made the powder. So it's just a matter of just being ready to go. And also one of the things I've learned really important is to label your plastic baggies that you're going to put, like I just boiled a bunch of poke and I made them into bundles. I wrote poke on the bag before I did that and threw it in the freezer so that I would know what wild green I was dealing with, because my freezer is full of stuff. And I haven't honestly been that organized since the beginning. So some of it I'm thinking, what is that? So if I don't know what it is, it always goes into my bone broth. Okay. So, all right, so we're going to talk about what you do. The first thing you do is make a juice. I'll tell you how, and then mash it up, and what you do with the mashings, and what you do with whole berries, what you do with baked berries, savory berries, and dried berries. And I want you to just go over really quick what are some of the other berries that are wild. And so here we go. We have raspberries and dewberries, wineberries, blueberries, and I didn't know that these were wild, but they're all wild over on Rough Ridge. I don't know if you guys have ever hiked there. They're wild up in Canada. My grandfather's birthday is July 31st, and he always loved blueberry pie that the campers would forage for in Canada and bring back as a treat for Pop. And they called him Cap. I called him Pop. And then blueberries, service berries are also called Sasquan. Anyway, service berries. Those come out in June, and I've never actually tasted those. If you have, let me know. If I have a question mark next to it, it means I've not experienced it yet. But I did see it when I was at Central Park with Wildman Steve Brill, and he's just, oh, it was so exciting. And they were just beginning to ripen. And this is back in June, so I think that's interesting that there are berries that ripen all throughout, actually the whole year, and I'll explain that in a minute. So then there's mulberries, and I found those in New Jersey next to my old house that I used to live in, and I had never tasted mulberries before, and they were just beginning to ripen, and that was pretty exciting. So that was in June as well. And then elderberries are coming out now, and I wanted to tell you, this is so important. Where are they? Where did I put it? Oh my gosh. Okay, well, they're out now, and so Jason, is it on top of the dryer or on the back porch? It's like a big connect.
Right here?
No, that's yellow dock. Okay, it's in a basket. It's in a vase.
There's nothing out here.
Okay, I will find it. Point is they're out now, and the birds are so tenacious and they're so determined to get them before you do. So it'll actually go from the green berries to the empty peduncles like overnight, and that's just so frustrating because we've been waiting for them, and so you really got to keep your eye on it. So as soon as they are ripe, you take a paper bag like this, and you just hold it underneath the tall the branch, and you can just break them off. They're just so easily break, and just break the whole umbel off right into the bag. Once you've got the bag full, freeze it, and then once the berries are completely frozen, the way to get them off the peduncles is to take these frozen berries in the bag and just smash it on the counter, and they'll all go flying off. So that's the way to do it, but I'm just saying, get them while the getting's good. So we're going to be talking more about what's on nature's wave in next week's class, but I wanted you to know about that now because they're kind of going and going fast, and you don't want to miss a whole harvest of elderberries. Okay, so then there was strawberries, gooseberries. I saw them recently, but I've never tasted them. If you ever tasted a gooseberry, let me know. They're unusual looking, super cool. They look like white grapes with kind of like pumpkin stripes on them. And then buffalo berries, I've never tasted those. This Saskatoon berries, I think, are the service berries. Salmon berries, never tasted those. Beauty berries, I have lots of those on my acre, and so there's just amazing, they're amazing. Autumn olive berries are my favorite, hands down. They're coming. Chokeberries, high bush cranberries, they smell like dirty socks, but they taste great as a jam. And then cloudberries, and I saw a picture of the cloudberries, and they look like little orange clouds, which was really weird. So like that's expanded my bucket list. So I don't know if any of you have any of these berries or access to them. If you do, please comment and let me know. And my bucket list is so expanded because I want to do all of these preparations we're about to talk about with each of these berries. I want to meet them. But what God has given me is blackberries, and so I thought I'm featuring blackberries, not because they're the only berry there is, but because I want to show you what you can do with them. All right, the first thing you want to do is make wine. Well, not at first, but it's just super easy. And so I wanted to show you how I did this. So I just took maybe 2 cups of the berries, and I mashed them with about 3 tablespoons of sugar and 1 tablespoon of honey in the bottom of this half-gallon jar. Then I added to it clean water, and I don't know if you can see this, Jason, but it's already starting to ferment. Can you see that? See the little bubbles?
Can't see it, but that's okay.
You can see the bubbles coming up on the side. So you then, after you do that, that's all you do, guys. Honestly, that's it. And then you take And you never want to, when you're fermenting, you always want to work with wood, but never metal. You can use plastic. I don't really like using plastic for many reasons, but this is a cattail stalk. So I know it looks like a chopstick, but it's Holly's chopsticks. Okay, then you can cover it with paper towel or a napkin or a cheesecloth. And I've lost my cheesecloth. I don't know where I put it. So we're just using that. And then just stir it. Then after about 3 days, you're going to start a taste test. And when you get it to the sweetness you want, then you're just going to bottle it up in a flip jar, like these flip jars here. Making sure you burp them so they don't explode. However, if you wait too long and this gets really sour, no worries. This becomes an amazing vinegar. So blackberry vinegar is the bomb. So I'm not too worried about this not being a good wine. But blackberry wine is medicinal. So I thought I would share that. I also took a lot of the berries and I put them into as tall of a stock pot as you can get, because it makes a mess when you're doing these things. So I was actually going to do them with you guys, but I thought, I'm glad I didn't, because it would have been really hard to focus on what I was saying because I was so busy and making such a glorious mess. So let's see, with the sauce, you can make a syrup. And the syrup, I'm going to give a recipe, but honestly, it's up to you what you want to do with it, because some people want to keep it really tart and some people want to make it sweet. And if you want it thicker, you just add a little bit of pectin to it and boil it, or really hard, just for a minute or two. So this syrup is going to be used in so many recipes. So you make a lot of juice, keep the juice in your refrigerator, make a lot of syrup or a cordial, and you can use that for making salad dressings. You can use that for making, what else do you do with syrups? Anything you would do with a syrup, drizzling it over yogurt. Cheesecake. Yeah, you can make it a glaze. I made a glaze. Let's see, here's a glaze here. This glaze was made with the syrup, with butter and this, oh no, actually this was just made with the juice, because I didn't want sweetness. I just wanted the tartness, and I added powdered sugar and butter, melted that all together and made a blackberry glaze, which is going to be, you'll see what I use it for later. Then I made a lot of jam, or I made jelly. So what I did with this is I decided I would take the seeds out. And we talked last week about how the seeds are high in omega-3 fatty acids, which is super important for our health, our heart health. And there's not very many foods that have that. Personally, having the highest, which is incredible. All right, so this jelly has no seeds in it. And what I did with the seeds, I'm just dying to show you this, is I put them in my dehydrator, and I dehydrated them so that they look like this.
Hold on.
And I'm gonna take it out. I'm gonna put this back. So once you get those seeds dehydrated, one thing you're gonna learn as you herb around with me is I don't really waste anything. I use it all. So I'm gonna take these seeds and put them in my coffee grinder.
First, just show them. Thank you.
I'm going to put these in my coffee grinder and powder them up. And so I'm going to be putting these in our daily smoothie, and what Jason doesn't know isn't going to hurt him. But you heard this. Oh, wow. Okay. So anyway, then I'm just going to powder it.
There goes my coffee grinder.
I have a separate coffee grinder for coffee. All right, so this isn't ground enough, so I'm going to ground it further, but this is what it looks like when it's done. If I was using blackberry to make, with alum, to make a dye or something, I think this would be a good way to do it. Or anytime you would want to add some nutrition into deceptive cooking, I would do it this way as well. And this is a great way to preserve the nutrients for the winter as well. So there's that. Making the jelly, it has all kinds of wonderful uses. So you can take this jelly, and I made a cheesecake. The coating, or the bottom of the cheesecake, the crust is pretzels, almonds, graham crackers, a little bit of sugar, and butter. And then you bake that, and then I put the cheesecake on top of it. So I can either just take one berry or a couple of berries. I think I'll do that because I don't want any more sweet. And just put them in the middle like that because this is a very sweet dessert. Or you could take the jelly and put it over the cheesecake like this. You got it? Okay. So there's lots of uses for the jelly, but I got to tell you the craziest one I just heard about, and Jason, I'm going to do this for you, I promise. You take bacon, and anytime you have bacon, you're good, right? Okay, so you take 4 pieces of bacon, you take sourdough bread, and you know how much we love sourdough bread, and jalapenos, and 4 slices of Swiss cheese, and you make a grilled cheese sandwich with taking the jelly or the jam, and you can make a jam by just leaving the seeds in, and you put that on one side, put the cheese and the bacon and the jalapenos, and grill it. So I'm totally going to do that. I just saw that recipe right before class, so I'm thinking, man, that sounds really good to me. So you don't have to have just sweet things. You can have savory things as well, which is what I'm going to do. I'm going to show you how to make a savory thing that I'm excited about making. So I'm going to take some blackberries. So there they go. These are the ones I just picked this morning. And I don't ever wash them because they're picked in such a pure location. Berries tend to be one of the dirty dozen because if they have been sprayed, you really can't get that glyphosate off of it. It's just poison. So this would be, if you have to buy your blackberries, make sure you get them organic because you can't wash them off. But I wouldn't want to wash these off because there's a lot of the fermentation of the lactobacillus bacteria that is on this, which is, by the way, when you make the wine, you don't ever want to wash the berries. You want to make sure that they're unwashed, okay? You can wash them if you want, but I don't do that. So I've got my berries in here, and to that, I'm going to add a teaspoon and a half of, this is 2, I'll use my small spoon. Just add some mustard. Like a teaspoon and a half sounds good. And then I'm going to add some honey. This is local honey. Local honey has so many nutrient, medicinal benefits for you individually. So wherever you live, get some local honey. This is from Kelly Brothers. And this is Brad's honey. So I'm excited about that. And then all you do is mash it up. So this dip, what can I do with this dip? Well, the other night I made a hoisin sauce out of blackberry, and so that was really good. You could put that over pork. So I think blackberry really pairs well with pork. And I think the best way to mash them, honestly, is, let me get it. Oh, I don't see it. Well, okay, a potato masher is a great thing to do, or you could put it in your food processor. But I want to mash that better. I just don't want to take time to do that right now. So that'll go probably on some chicken breast, grilled chicken breast or something. That would be so good. So the mustard and the honey and the blackberry is just going to be delicious. Or another thing you can do is put that mixed with blackberries and brie, go really well together, cheese. Remember, because they're tart, they have such an amazing contrast when you add a little bit of sweetness. All right, so with the juice, you can make seltzer. So I made a seltzer here, and all I did was just take a plain seltzer. I took 2 of them, and I filled it up to about there, and then I poured just plain blackberry juice. So tonight we're having someone over for dinner, and I thought, we're having hamburgers, and I thought this would be a great soda for our dinner. So I'm not going to share any of this with Jason right now. He can have it tonight for dinner. But that's how simple it is to make a seltzer. There's also, you can make sodas out of roots, and I'll be teaching you how to do that this fall. And because there's lots of that lactobacillic bacteria in roots, especially in the fall, and you can make a wonderful culture with that. I also made a blackberry water kefir by taking my kefir grains over there. I'm just going to put this over here just to get rid of it, but took my kefir grains and I used the water from that, the kefir water, and added just plain blackberry juice without any sugar.
Why do you put your kefir over there?
I keep my kefir next to the stove because you want the heat of the stove to help the fermentation process, and then you have to constantly be burping them because they'll explode. I've had my grape kefir explode all over my white counters one time, and that was a mess. But anyway, we cleaned it up. So blackberry seltzer. So having the juice, you want a lot of the juice that's not been sweetened so you can use it. You want a lot of the syrup so you can use it for all kinds of recipes. Lots of the wine so you can have it in the winter. Oh, so many fun things to do. What else? Okay. Jelly gummies. You can make gummy bears with the juice or the syrup. That's a really good thing to do, and I'll give you the recipe for that. Making a dressing. So this is going to be so amazing. I've got a wonderful vinaigrette dressing for this, using some Dijon mustard, a little bit of honey, and the blackberry because it's got that amazing tartness. So that's going to be a really good dressing. Okay. When you mash them, you can just mash them. When you mash them, you can make the wine, the vinegar, and an ice cream. So I'm going to show that to you next. And you get to try it, okay, hon? All right. So I took graham crackers and well, first I took vanilla ice cream, so I didn't make my own ice cream. I just took vanilla ice cream and I just put a bunch of blackberries in there, a little bit of the syrup, not much. And that's what they, then I put down this type of a plastic wrap, and you have to use plastic wrap, not parchment paper, because you want it to go over the edges of the pan. Then I took the melted blackberry ice cream that I had just mixed together, poured that over the pan and froze it for actually I froze it overnight. Then I brought the pan out, and you can easily pull it out with all of this plastic and then cut it into squares that are going to fit the size of the graham cracker. So I'm not going to give you this big one, but you get to try the small ones. Can you come up here so that we can all see what you think? Now, I had told Jason I was going to add some toasted pecans to this, and then I forgot. But I think if you like nuts, adding a little bit of salted toasted pecans would be so good mixed in with this.
So this was just vanilla ice cream?
Vanilla ice cream, and then I just put whole blackberries and a little bit of blackberry syrup in there.
Ooh. And I can eat this now? Wow. That is really
Cold.
terrific. Cold.
Yeah, does that hurt your teeth?
No, but it is really good. I mean, I'm taking it.
Okay, take it over there. So that's really fun. And last year I made popsicles with blackberries, which I'll post a picture of. I just mixed them in with yogurt and then I froze that. So it was like this really healthy yogurt with wonderful blackberries, a little bit of the syrup for sweetening, and then froze them in molds. So that was really easy to do as well. Okay, so we're still on the mash. So the ice cream, making the jam, the savory sauce, the fruit leather. So let me talk about fruit leather. I absolutely love fruit leather, and I think it's one of my favorite ways of eating candy and of keeping the harvest throughout the winter. So what you do with blackberries is you can mix it with something. Blackberries has pectin, all berries do, and all fruits do, but not a whole lot. So what I would do is I would take a little bit of crabapple sauce, because crabapples have the highest amount of pectin, and then just mix a little bit of it with your blackberry mash or puree, and you can add a little sugar if you want. You can make it completely up to you what you want to do. Then you put it on dehydrator trays, and so what I do is I cut out parchment paper so that it fits exactly the size I want. Now this is the seeds, this is not fruit leather. And you can do this in your stove as well, really low overnight or something. And then it makes a beautiful puree that just kind of, you just spread it out and then you dehydrate it. And you keep checking on it so it doesn't become too hard and brittle. If it does, then you've got candy, right? So it's kind of hard to lose. And that's so much better than the fruit roll-ups that you would buy at the store. Okay, so back to the mash. Now, whole. Using them whole is probably my favorite way to use it. So here's some ideas for that. You can make a salsa, like I've got a whole bunch of mangoes that I just got on sale, and I'm gonna add the blackberries to it and make a mango blackberry salsa. And that'll be fun. I'm also gonna make a chutney. Just throw them in salads like our Maggie was telling us. And then put them on oatmeal. That makes amazing oatmeal. Make a yogurt parfait. You can just keep them frozen in the freezer. In fact, that's probably the best way to preserve them. You can also can them whole. I've never done that. I don't like canning things very often because it does tend to kill the nutrients. But when they're frozen, you can just pull them out. You can do all of these preparations even in the winter. You don't have to do it all in the summer. I just wanted you to get excited about gathering your berries, and you can preserve the harvest by freezing them, which is fine. It's a good idea to freeze them by 4 cups per baggie, because then you know exactly that you've got the 4 cups you need for making jam or jelly or whatever. That's just one of my tips. You can put them whole in pancakes or waffles or anything that you would do, smoothies like we just did. Okay, now let's talk about baking. So baking is really fun. There's so many fun ways to make a berry, to bake with berries. So one is a crisp, another is a crumble, another is a cobbler, another is a clafouti, which Heather Pierre taught me just the other day, and she goes, that's my favorite way. And so I made a clafouti for Jason. Where is the clafouti? Is this it here? Okay.
I think so.
Yeah. This was crazy awesome. So I'm going to just post the recipe for this because you guys got to try it. Actually, I think this is the cobbler. I don't know where I put the clafouti. This is not the clafouti. All right, anyway, the clafouti, this is not it. And this is more cobbler. All right, it's in the bowels of my refrigerator, but I posted a picture of it on my Holly Drake Facebook page. So I'll just post it here in Wild Blessings so you can see, and I'll give you the recipe because it was so easy, and it was, honestly, Jason, what did you think of it?
I thought it was one of the best desserts I've ever had.
It only took me like less than 10 minutes to throw together. So super simple and really good. So a clafouti. And all right, so there's the crisp, there's the crumble, there's a cobbler, and there's a buckle. So the crisp is basically where you take almond, or you take nuts and oats and a streusel. So the streusel would be things like brown sugar, cinnamon, nutmeg, whatever you use to make a streusel. And you mix those together, the nuts and the oatmeal, and you put that over the berries and you bake it. That's a crisp. And it takes a lot of berries to do that. And it's delicious, so yummy. But then a crumble is exactly like a crisp, only you get rid of the nuts and the oats, and you just have the streusel and bake that. And a buckle is where you take the berries and put them in a cake, and it makes the cake buckle a little bit. What am I missing? The cobbler is where you take the berries and you mix them with a little bit of honey or something and put them on the bottom of the pan, your baking dish, and then you put dough on top of it. Or in this case, I actually put the butter down and then the dough and then the berries, and then it cooked up. And honestly, it was not the best recipe. So I'm not going to share that recipe. So if you have a good cobbler, someone shared one with me. I'm not sure who did that, but thank you. I'm going to try that one next time I make a cobbler. But this was just a little bit disappointing. So I'm going to share it with somebody who will appreciate it, because we're just blackberried out a little bit, aren't we? Kind of.
Not yet. Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. Well, good, because we have lots more of the blackberry season.
Then we've got blueberries coming after this.
Well, they're already out.
Well, the blueberry baked things, blessings.
Yeah, blueberry blessings. Okay, so then a clafouti, a scone. You can make scones, you can make cakes, you can make pies, you can make the cheesecake, shortbread. I'm interested in making one of those. And I'm also really, really interested, if you have a recipe for this, let me know. I like fig Newtons and berry bars or whatever. I don't know how. I've only ever been able to buy them, but I would love to learn how to make those, because making a blackberry jam and putting that inside of a cake bar, I think would be the bomb. All right, and then, all right, well, that's pretty much it. Where are we doing with time, Jace? Let's see. Okay. Let me look around and make sure I didn't miss a thing. 5 minutes? Okay, I've got 5 minutes. All right, so, all right, I'm going to just challenge y'all to write a poem, do the Blackberry puzzle, fill out the poster with berry leaves, and if you don't remember what they are, write it on the back as you put them on, and then learn by heart. Be patient like the farmer who waits for the precious or the valuable crop, for its valuable crop. Well, let's see, I got to read it. Be patient like a farmer who waits for the land to yield its valuable crop, patiently waiting for rain. So memorize that along with me. And I think the more we put God's word in our heart and then we meditate on that while we're foraging, it just makes it come alive, and it makes us so grateful. And you realize you're just flat out not alone. And that's huge.
Well, just before you say goodbye, he just wanted to say how much he enjoys going out and foraging for blackberries, and he's been with you nearly every time, hasn't he? Yeah.
Yes, he likes to eat them. Don't you,
He
Max?
does.
Yep. He
Yeah.
does.
But he knows when they're not ripe. I've tried to give him one when they're not ripe. No, he doesn't want
Yeah,
that.
he likes the sugar.
All right.
So he's going to get a haircut. He looks pretty scraggly. All right, so the field work is do your poem, do the puzzle, do the memory work, write at the puzzle. Gather what you've got. Let me know what berries you're gathering. Share your recipes and put the picture of what it is you're making. It doesn't have to be blackberries on the thread that we started on that. And then next week, I'll be talking about my August foraging basket. So I'm going to have this whole counter, my whole kitchen filled. I'm going to go foraging. Jason and I are going to just collect everything we can find, all the roots, all the shoots, well, there's not very many shoots, all the flower buds, all the leaves, all of the flowers, all of the flower seed pods, all of the seeds, all of the fruits and nuts that are on Nature's Wave shelves right now. So I don't usually do a class like that, and I've decided that I'm going to definitely do that maybe once a month from now on, so that you guys don't miss out on what is on nature shelves. So right now, the thing that's what next week is about, but I want you to know that if you do not get these small milkweed pods, this size, hard and firm, you'll miss out on the potato stage. So I'll be doing some cooking with milkweed for our next class, and with, honey, can you get me those yellow dock that were over there? I got to show this too, because this is a warning I wanted to share with you, because this is kind of time sensitive, and if I wait till next week to share this, you'll have already suffered the consequences. All right, so this is our beloved yellow dock Rumex crispus, and I do love this, and I love making iron supplements from its root. Its roots are yellow, that's why it's called yellow dock. So look at how the seed heads are green. I wasn't worried about it when it was like this. This is in prime real estate in my garden. Then it starts to turn kind of a tan, and the tan doesn't bother me too much, but when it turns this color, then you're too late. So I love harvesting it this color, because this is the time when I collect it to make flour, Flour, for crackers, and yellow dock flour is amazing. However, you can imagine how many seeds are in the chaff here. This is unbelievable how invasive this plant gets. So unfortunately, a couple years ago, I let it go to seed right in my vegetable garden, and it's just everywhere, and it's really hard to get rid of. So I haven't been gardening this year, because Jason said, Holly, I want you just to be a wild woman and don't bother gardening. So this is the first year I haven't gardened in decades, but I can't let the seeds take over. As much as I love these wild edible plants, they are so prolific. I can get them elsewhere. They don't need to be on my land. So get rid of these now. and get your elderberries now before the birds do. I hope this has been informative. I'm looking so much forward to next week. Thank you so much for joining me. I so appreciate your participation. Please share this our group with others. I'd love to have them join. I want to see us grow. I want to see people feel empowered with what God has provided and feel loved. Also, I would love it if you could join me on Patreon to help me continue to keep these classes free, help to pay some bills. And I'm really grateful to just be able to share my passion with you. So thanks for joining me. Bye for now.